Everyone says God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers, and I think he might be confused. He got the wrong one because I am tired. When I tell you exhausted, I'm so done. Like, out of all the things that happened in my life, like, what else could go wrong, you know? And that was just a hypothetical question. Please don't show me. As some of you guys may know, I kind of fell off the face of the earth in like around like 2019, a little bit before then, because I was just like slowly getting sicker. So I'm here to tell you all about what happened, and yeah, I even like wrote down a bunch of stuff. I felt like I was in school again. Just like the actual definitions, because I didn't like, I know, but like I just wanted to make sure, you know, so then I could actually tell you guys the correct information. I finally went and looked through the pictures that I took or my parents took during the time. First of all, yikes. So fair warning, nobody make fun of me, please. It was a rough time in my life. I literally was dying. So like, oh, I decided to tell you guys this traumatic point in my life outside. I was gonna do it at the park, but then I remembered the last time I was at the park, a bird pooped on me. So then I was like, I don't think I want to go. So I'm outside my house. So sorry if it's loud. I actually didn't even test this to see if the audio is gonna be okay. But you know, it is what it is, and if it's not, then that's unfortunate. The story begins when my parents decided to take my older sister Jemiah and I to Vegas. It was about a 4-hour flight there. About halfway through the flight, I was like, ooh, I'm getting a little... Okay, anyways, before I was just rudely interrupted by that dog yelling like that. About halfway through the flight, I was like, ooh, I'm starting to get really uncomfortable. Like it was my left leg near my hip. I was like, it's like a very sharp pain. So I told my parents. They said it's probably just because, you know, we've been sitting in this plane, so I didn't really think much of it. Halfway through our vacation, it still was hurting. In fact, it even got worse. So I brought it up to my parents again, into which they said it was probably a psoriatic a pinched nerve, okay? It soon became really painful to the point where even pain medicine wasn't helping, and to the point where I just stayed in while everyone else went out and was, you know, doing vacation. Eventually we got back home. I don't really remember much else from that trip. I couldn't even find pictures, probably because I only took them like shortly before and then didn't really do much afterwards because I was in so much pain. But we got home. Don't remember much the first couple initial days of being home. Jesus, I can't. The bugs, I can't. I do know, like, I was just not doing very well. I was lightheaded. I couldn't really eat because I couldn't keep things down. Like, I would always just throw it up. And I remember quite literally saying, I feel like I'm dying, to my family, which, you know, they were just like, yeah, you know, they blew it off, only because I used to be very, okay, well, I am very dramatic. Let me correct myself before I even finish saying that. I am dramatic. So, you know, they were probably just like, oh, she's just being dramatic as usual. Just so adamant about it that they were like, okay, we'll just call your primary doctor to have you shut the fuck up, basically, is what they were doing. So I was able to go get some blood work done from my primary doctor, and then they sent me home, obviously, because we gotta wait for the results to come back. But during that wait of waiting for the results to come back, it actually became even worse, pain-wise, but also to the point where I couldn't even, like, standing up was a no-go. Sitting up, I even felt like I was gonna pass out then. Like, it was just terrible. I was just laying in bed, couldn't do anything, like, couldn't eat. I was hungry. I even tried going to like protein shakes just to get something in me, and I couldn't. I would even throw that up. Bro, I can't with the bugs. I can't. It was huge. Oh my god, I can't. Oh my god, I can't. Now we're gonna move to June 11th, 2019, and this is the day that shit actually really hits the fan. So I started not being able to breathe. Like, I couldn't get a good deep breath in. And I noticed that morning, around lunchtime, it didn't get better. I tried to drink a protein shake, did not work. I actually threw that up again. I threw that up in the living room, and I actually then collapsed in the living room. So I'm laying on the floor, and my grandma is frantically calling my dad and was like, hey, we need to take her to the hospital or something. Like, I can call the ambulance, or if you feel like you think you can carry her to the car, you know, you could do that. At the time, my mom was at work. So when my grandma's trying to, like, talking to my dad and they're trying to figure out what's going on, my mom actually was rushing home because the doctor called her with my results from my blood work. So right when my grandma's about to start dialing 911, my mom burst through the front door and is like, hey, we need to take her to the hospital immediately. Her doctor wants her in the ER stat. The whole time though, I have a little bag, I'm throwing up because I'm so lightheaded, I can't breathe. It's just terrible, you know? And so we get to the ER. Oh, I actually forgot. My mom stopped at the doctor's office first before coming home because they told her to come pick up the paper to bring to the ER. So we get to the ER, she hands them the paper, and they're like, whoa, you know, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, nobody's telling me anything. Like, my mom didn't tell me what the doctor said. All I know is clearly it's bad. This is probably the fastest I've ever been seen in an ER, which is also how I knew that I was like, oh shit, this is serious. At the time too, I honestly, fair warning, because I know some of y'all are gonna be like, ew, TMI. There's nothing TMI. This is just all natural human being type shit. So if you're grossed out about it, grow the fuck up. Okay. At the time, I had really, really heavy periods, and I would lose a lot of blood, clot a lot. So when we got there, I was anemic, and that is part of the reason why I was anemic. And I actually had to get a couple blood transfusions. So I'm gonna pop a picture up here or whatever. That's basically what that picture is me getting some blood. That happened the day that happened shortly after I arrived at the hospital. So, and I think in total, out of this whole situation, I think I got a total of probably 4 or 3 different blood transfusions. But for those who don't know what being anemic is, I wrote it down exactly what the definition is because I wanted to make sure I got everything for you guys correct, because I didn't want to just go based off of my own knowledge. So basically, being anemic is low levels of heavy, that's not what that says, I swear I know how to read. It's low levels of healthy red blood cells to carry oxygen throughout your body. So through my periods, I've lost so much blood that I actually did not have those blood cells. So I had to get blood transfusion. Then shortly after that, you know, they made me stay a little bit longer, only because they wanted to make sure that I didn't have any reaction to the blood. Which, first of all, hello? Then I was ready to be discharged because that's all we thought was wrong. So I get up. I was feeling a little bit better, but I still could not really breathe and stuff like that. But I was feeling like, you know, I was getting color back in my face, they said, and, you know, whatever. So I got discharged. I stood up off the bed to leave, and instantly they said all of the color in my face drained, and I was gone. That shit said, started falling. The nurse had to catch me and put me back on the bed, and they were like, okay, so you're gonna stay the night because clearly something else is going on. And the next morning I woke up and you went to go use the bathroom, and you just take your stuff off, and then I realized that my left leg is like twice the size as big as my right, and it's completely purple, like probably like this shirt maybe, like it was like purple. Like I felt like it was like some movie type stuff. Like it was like, I don't know how to explain. It was crazy. So I told my mom because I'm freaking out, obviously. I'm like, hey yo, my leg is huge and it's purple, like anyone would. And then I did the call button, you know, the call light for the nurse, and I'm like, she comes in the bathroom and I'm like, hey, something's wrong with my leg, you know? Come check this out. And she goes, is it always like that? Girl, be fucking for real right now. What do you think? Was it purple when I got here? And if it was like always like that, why would I be calling you? Be for real. But you know, I didn't say that because I'm a nice person, but I was thinking that. But I was like, oh no, it's not always like that. Something's going on. So can you get the doctor or something? You know. So then I had to get a CT scan. If you've never gotten a CT scan before, they put a dye, like a contrast, in your veins. And it just like shows whatever. But it makes you feel like you're peeing on yourself. Like I literally was like, oh, and she's like, oh no, you're fine. They found some stuff in my CT scan. One was a DVT, which means that I had a blood clot in my left leg, and it was actually the size of my whole leg, which would explain why my leg is purple and swollen. And then also a pulmonary embolism. So the DVT, which is deep vein thrombosis, I think I said that right. It looks like this. I'm gonna try to, if I find a picture. If not, this is gonna be awkward, but boom. Some of the clot actually broke off and went up into my lungs, which is a pulmonary embolism, which would explain why it was starting to become harder and harder for me to breathe. I didn't have the resources or, you know, and the means to help with that type of stuff that they seen, so they actually had to airlift me up to Chicago. We live about like 45 minutes away from Chicago, so it wasn't too bad of a drive for my parents, because obviously they couldn't be in the helicopter with me, which first of all was my first time in a helicopter, which kind of sucks, but also kind of was cool, I guess. I mean, it would have been better under better circumstances, but it was cool. The people were very nice. I have like a picture and a video. So yeah, and I felt really bad because I remember getting wheeled up to it, and they let my parents go on the helipad, and I just remember my mom bawling her eyes out, which, I mean, you know, this whole experience was traumatic for everyone. When I arrived, I actually was in the children's hospital, Comer's Children's Hospital. Shout out to you guys, because I was 17. It was actually kind of funny seeing people, like new people, come into my room, because they were like, it's a children's hospital, so they assumed like, oh, you're gonna be a child, so they'd like walk in and be like, hi, and then they see me and they're like, oh, hey, and it's like, oh, I don't get that same treatment. When I first got there, I felt like I was in a TV show. Like, you know, you always see those scenes where like people are just running in and out, and that's basically what happened when I first got off the helicopter. I don't know exactly where I was at first when I got in the hospital, but I do remember staying in the ICU for like a week or so. So I don't know if I just went straight to the ICU or, you know, whatever. Ran a lot more tests, and then I found out that I had a condition called May-Thurner syndrome. Here's a little picture. I keep doing this, but if I don't actually put a picture up there, I'm just gonna look stupid. That's so unfortunate. May-Thurner's happens when the artery compresses the vein, causing disruption in the blood flow, which is the reason why I've had these clots. I was getting these clots, and to fix it, basically you need a stent. The next condition is called lupus anticoagulant, and basically if you have lupus anticoagulant, it doesn't mean you have lupus, but every couple of years they will test me for it, just because you can develop lupus, because it's like a little gene. But if you have lupus anticoagulant, it doesn't mean you have lupus. Confusing, I know. I'm actually going to read the definition exactly from the piece of paper that I wrote, because I don't want to mess up anything about this part. But Lupus anticoagulant means that the immune system mistakenly produces antibodies that attack proteins associated with cell membranes, which leads to blood clotting. So basically, I'm a hot mess. But I think everyone can figure that out now. So what that means for me is that I'm probably going to be on blood thinners for the rest of my life. It's not too bad anymore because I take a pill now, but when I first got out of the hospital, I actually had to give myself injections twice a day. Thank God I don't have to do that shit anymore. Now that we know what was wrong with me, how do we fix it? The very first order of business in what was a rush against the time was to get the blood clots taken care of, because when I got there and they were, did my CT scan and everything, they actually said that I could have probably died like in a day or two, because the clots could have, like, from the day I got to the hospital, they said I could have died in a day or two because the blood clot could have broken off and gone to my brain. Since it already got to my lungs, the next step would have been my brain. So what they did was put a tube in the back of my leg to pump in blood thinners and take out the clots. And it was in my leg for a couple days, actually. Like, I'm just woke up from the surgery and my mom was like, hey, so like there's a tube sticking out of your leg. And I'm like, what? Let me see. And then they were like, no, you don't want to see that. But I kept nagging, and then they eventually showed me, and yeah, they were correct. I did not want to see that. That made me freak out. I don't have a picture of that, well, I don't think so. I don't know if my parents do, but they didn't send me that when I asked them to send the pictures, and I don't even think that would be okay for YouTube. So they did that for a couple days. Then they went back in. I had another surgery, one to remove the tube, and then two to have a stent placed in. Since my May thinners, again, that's when your artery compresses your vein, and that disrupts blood flow. So they put a stent to keep that vein open so it's not smushed anymore. I also had to get an iron transfusion because my iron was super low. Here's a picture of what that looks like. Yes, it's brown. Also, fun fact, getting a blood transfusion is the worst. It literally tasted like I was just sucking a mouthful of pennies the whole time. And even they gave you like juice or like little crackers or something just to like offset that taste. Yeah, it don't work. It doesn't work at all. As you can see, I was getting bodied. Those blood thinners that they gave me, I was just bruising like crazy. Like, I woke up with that big bruise right here. So I'm gonna put a picture right here. I'm not sure what happened. I don't know who was beating me in my sleep. I probably should have asked my parents if there's anything that I might not remember that they remember. Because obviously I was just going through it. So, and I was all drugged up. It's 6 years later now, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself. The last surgery I had actually was in January of this year. It wasn't really regarding the whole situation that I just explained, but it will be helping. I feel like the situation. But yeah, and it's crazy to think about that. It's 6 years ago that this happened, and I'm just now starting to feel like myself. It put a lot of things in perspective for me. I will say that. It truly did, and I feel like it did for my family as well. Especially hearing the doctor say, like, a day or two I would have been, That's just so crazy to think about, really. But I also do think that my family takes me serious now. I don't blame them for brushing me off when I was like, I feel like I'm dying, because I can't lie, I am a very dramatic person. So I don't blame them at all for brushing that off. Because in the end, it brought everything closer, especially me and my mom. My mom had to bathe me in the hospital. But I was like, they gave me a choice. They were like, this nurse can or your mom. And I was like, I'll just let my mom do it, because I don't know, stranger danger, guys. Like, oh, this video was so hard to film outside. So many interruptions. That one dog did not want to see me be great. Every time I opened my mouth, it would just bark. wild. I'm gonna try to post more consistently. I know I didn't post last week. I was having a bad week. Okay? Always prioritize yourself and your mental health. That's what I had to do. So I apologize. But trust, I'm gonna film some stuff this weekend for next week. Hopefully that goes well. But you know, life is crazy and you can't predict what's about to happen next. This video topic shows that. But yeah, if nobody has told you this yet today, you matter, you are loved, and I'm so happy you're here. And yeah, until next time. I just made myself weird.